His breathing was shallow, each gasp a fragile whisper against the cold hospital walls. She held his trembling hand, eyes filled with unspoken promises, a final wish hanging between them, fragile yet burning with hope. Time was slipping away, but she refused to let his last dream fade. Welcome to Stories by Xavier. Let's uncover what really happened. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly overhead as Sarah adjusted the waistband of her scrubs. It was her first day on the oncology ward, a place she had dreaded and dreamed about in equal measure throughout nursing school. The scent of antiseptic mingled with the faint aroma of wilted flowers from the patients' rooms. She took a deep breath and stepped through the sliding doors, feeling the weight of all the stories that had unfolded here before her. Nurses bustled by, their faces etched with exhaustion and empathy. Sarah felt the keen mix of excitement and nervousness prickling through her veins. This was where she wanted to be, helping people at their most vulnerable, offering comfort when hope seemed thin. Her first patient was Mr. Thomas Jenkins, a man in his late 70s with silver hair and calm blue eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 memories. Sarah introduced herself with a warm smile, trying to soften the clinical atmosphere. "Good morning, Mr. Jenkins. I'm Sarah, your nurse for today." He returned a faint smile, nodding quietly. Their first conversations were polite and brief, discussions about medications, vital signs, and how he was feeling. But beneath the surface, Sarah sensed a profound dignity in Mr. Jenkins, something that no illness could diminish. As the day wore on, Sarah noticed how Mr. Jenkins watched the world outside the window, his eyes distant yet attentive. She wondered what thoughts filled his mind, what stories he carried. Before leaving that evening, she asked, "Is there anything you want to share? Anything important to you?" He hesitated, then looked directly at her. "There's a last wish I've held on to, but I'm not sure it can be done." Sarah felt a flicker of curiosity and resolve spark inside her. Whatever it was, she knew she would do everything she could to help. The first day had only just begun, and already Sarah realized this journey would change them both. The next morning, Sarah arrived early, the hospital's sterile halls already humming with activity. She made her way back to Mr. Jenkins's room, eager to learn more about the man who had quietly stirred something inside her the day before. Mr. Jenkins sat propped against his pillows, a soft blanket draped over his knees. His eyes lit up faintly when he saw Sarah enter, the corners crinkling like worn leather. He had a quiet strength about him, like someone who had weathered storms both inside and out. "How are you feeling today?" Sarah asked, pulling up a chair beside his bed. "Better than yesterday," he replied, voice steady but tired. "But there's something else on my mind." Sarah nodded, encouraging him to continue. He cleared his throat. "I've lived a long life, seen joys, losses, and everything in between. But there's one thing I've always dreamed of doing, something I never got the chance to." She leaned in, her heart beating a little faster. "My last wish," he said softly, "is to see the ocean one last time." Sarah blinked. It seemed simple, almost ordinary, but she saw in his eyes the depth of that longing, the pull of memories and a lifetime of unspoken stories. "How long has it been since you last saw it?" she asked gently. "Too long," he said. "Since I was a boy, really. The sea called to me then, and it calls me still." The hospital walls suddenly felt heavier, confining. Sarah understood the weight of that wish, a final connection to something vast, timeless, and free. "Mr. Jenkins," she said firmly, "we're going to find a way to make that happen. You're not alone in this." His smile was fragile but genuine. For the first time, she saw a spark of hope ignite behind those weary eyes. Sarah left the room that day with a new purpose. The challenge ahead was immense, but so was her determination. She had met a man whose last wish was a beacon, one she was willing to fight for, no matter what stood in the way. Sarah returned to Mr. Jenkins' room after her rounds, her mind swirling with thoughts of the ocean, his last wish. The hospital's quiet hum contrasted sharply with the vastness of the sea he longed to see again. She wondered how many others carried such hidden dreams, quietly tucked away beneath their fragile frames. Mr. Jenkins sat by the window, gazing out, but seemingly elsewhere, lost in memories only he could reach. Sarah pulled up a chair and gently asked, "Would you tell me more about why the ocean means so much to you?" He smiled faintly, the lines on his face softening. "It was my father's favorite place. We'd go every summer when I was a boy, barefoot in the sand, feeling the wind, hearing the waves. Those days felt endless and safe. I never imagined I'd be so far away from it now." Sarah nodded, feeling the weight of his words. "It sounds like more than just a place. It's a part of your story." "It is," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want to feel that peace again before I'm gone." Sarah's heart clenched. This was not just about fulfilling a whim. It was about giving him a final moment of belonging, of closure. But the logistics loomed large. A hospital patient, fragile and tethered to machines, and a wish that demanded freedom and movement. She reached out and held his hand. "We'll figure this out, no matter how difficult it seems." Over the next few hours, Sarah began sketching out possibilities. She spoke with doctors, weighing the risks and approvals needed for a trip. She reached out to colleagues, searching for ideas and resources. Every obstacle only strengthened her resolve. Mr. Jenkins' hope flickered, fragile but real, growing brighter with each conversation. And for Sarah, the journey had shifted. This was no longer just care. It was a mission of the heart. The patient's last wish was a beacon in the hospital's sterile corridors, a reminder that beneath every illness, a human story waited to be honored. The hospital's sterile routine pressed in from every side, but Sarah refused to let it dim the significance of Mr. Jenkins' last wish. She spent the day piecing together the fragments of what this journey truly meant, not just for him, but for everyone who crossed their paths. Later that afternoon, Sarah sat beside him again, notebook in hand. "Tell me more about the ocean, Mr. Jenkins. What do you remember most?" He closed his eyes briefly. The salt in the air, the way the waves would crash and then pull back like breathing. And the horizon, that endless line where the sky meets water. It made me feel small, but in a good way. Like my troubles didn't weigh so much there. Sarah listened carefully. This wasn't just nostalgia. It was a longing for peace, for a connection to something bigger than himself, beyond illness and the hospital walls. "Why now?" she asked gently. He opened his eyes, meeting hers with a calm resolve. "Because soon I won't have time, but I want to say goodbye to life the way I remember it. Free, open, and full of hope." Sarah felt a knot tighten in her throat. It was more than a wish. It was a farewell, a final chapter that demanded dignity. Back at the nurse's station, Sarah began to sketch a plan. This would require more than just medical clearance. It needed compassion, creativity, and a team willing to bend rules and find solutions. She knew it wouldn't be easy. The hospital's policies were strict, and Mr. Jenkins' condition fragile. But understanding his wish deepened her commitment. It was a mission to honor the essence of his life, not just to extend time, but to enrich it. That evening, as Sarah prepared to leave, she glanced back toward Mr. Jenkins' room. The silhouette of a man dreaming of the ocean, anchored only by hope and the steadfast will of a nurse determined to make the impossible possible. The next morning brought a fresh wave of reality crashing down on Sarah. While her determination burned bright, the hospital's rules and procedures cast long shadows over her plan to fulfill Mr. Jenkins' last wish. As she met with the medical team, the tone was cautious. "Mr. Jenkins' condition is fragile," the attending physician explained. "Transporting him outside the hospital carries significant risks: oxygen levels, infection, even sudden deterioration. We must consider his safety above all." Sarah nodded, understanding the gravity, but refusing to accept defeat. "I know it's risky," she said firmly, "but this is about more than just medical statistics. It's about giving him peace, dignity, something only that ocean can provide." The team exchanged glances, torn between protocol and compassion. The social worker added, "We'll need clearance from the ethics board, as well as family consent. Plus spécialisé transport arrangement." Sarah realized the road ahead was steep and tangled. The hospital's bureaucracy was a maze of forms, meetings, and approvals, none designed for urgent, heartfelt missions like this. She spent hours filling out paperwork, crafting petitions that detailed not only medical safety plans, but the emotional necessity behind the request. Each document was a plea for humanity amid the cold machinery of hospital regulations. But setbacks piled up. Some nurses doubted the feasibility, others warned of liability issues. Hospital administration questioned the cost and logistics. Every no was a reminder of the obstacles that lay between Mr. Jenkins and his ocean. Yet, in the face of these challenges, Sarah's resolve only hardened. She knew that breaking through the red tape meant changing minds, one person at a time. As the day closed, she sat beside Mr. Jenkins again, gently squeezing his hand. "We're fighting for you, Mr. Jenkins, no matter how long it takes." His tired smile was small but filled with gratitude, a fragile flame she vowed to keep alive. As the days passed, Sarah found herself spending more and more time by Mr. Jenkins' side. What had begun as professional duty grew into a genuine connection, a bond forged through shared stories, quiet moments, and mutual understanding. At first, Mr. Jenkins was reserved, guarded by years of hardship and illness. But Sarah's presence was consistent, her care steady and respectful. She listened without judgment, offering comfort without pity. Slowly, walls began to crumble. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed softly through the window, Mr. Jenkins began to share fragments of his past, tales of childhood summers by the shore, the laughter of siblings, the scent of salt air on his skin. Sarah listened intently, feeling privileged to witness this glimpse of his soul. "I haven't told many people these stories," he confessed, his voice tinged with vulnerability. "It's not easy to open up when you've spent so much time alone." Sarah nodded gently. "You're not alone now, and your stories matter. They remind us all why your last wish is so important." That moment deepened their trust. Mr. Jenkins began to confide his fears of dying unseen, unheard, of leaving behind regrets. Sarah responded with patience and reassurance, becoming both caregiver and confidant. Their bond grew stronger, a quiet partnership against the ticking clock. It was no longer just about fulfilling a wish. It was about honoring a life, preserving dignity in the face of inevitable loss. For Sarah, this trust was both a gift and a responsibility. It fueled her determination to navigate hospital hurdles, advocate fiercely, and never lose sight of the man who had entrusted her with his last hope. In the quiet hospital room, between beeping machines and hushed footsteps, a profound friendship blossomed, one that would change them both forever. The days rolled by with their usual hospital rhythm, medications administered, monitors checked, and moments of quiet reflection. Yet amid the clinical routine, Sarah began to notice something new, a flicker of hope in Mr. Jenkins' eyes. It started with small smiles during their conversations, brief but genuine laughter when she shared stories from her own life. The hospital room, once heavy with solemnity, was slowly being filled with warmth. One morning, Sarah arrived to find Mr. Jenkins looking more alert, his gaze steady. "I had a dream last night," he said softly. "I was standing by the shore again, the waves washing over my feet." Sarah smiled, her heart swelling. "That's wonderful, Mr. Jenkins. Dreams like that remind us there's still something to hold on to." His fingers traced the edge of the blanket. "It's strange, this hope. It feels like a lifeline pulling me forward." Sarah understood. Hope was fragile in places like this, but when nurtured, it could become a powerful force. She made a promise silently, to keep that hope alive, no matter what obstacles lay ahead. With renewed energy, she revisited the hospital administration, presenting new proposals and updated medical plans. Her determination was contagious, and slowly, she gained allies who believed in the cause. The patient's family, once hesitant, began to soften. They shared stories of Mr. Jenkins' youth, his love for the sea, and the importance of his final journey. Though challenges remained, that glimpse of hope had lit a path forward. For Mr. Jenkins, it was a reason to hold on. For Sarah, a reminder that sometimes the smallest sparks could ignite the brightest fires. As she left the hospital that evening, Sarah glanced back at the room bathed in soft light, feeling a quiet certainty. This story was far from over. Sarah knew that fulfilling Mr. Jenkins' last wish wouldn't just involve hospital staff. It meant navigating the delicate dynamics within his family. One afternoon, she requested a meeting with his daughter, Emily, hoping to understand their perspective and gain support. Emily arrived, her face lined with worry and exhaustion. She sat down hesitantly, explaining how her father had always been fiercely independent, rarely sharing his desires or fears. He never talked much about his illness or what he wanted. I didn't realize how important this wish was to him until recently. Sarah listened, acknowledging the emotional toll caregiving had taken on the family. This journey could bring him peace and closure, she said gently. But I understand your concerns. It's a big step. Emily nodded, torn between hope and fear. What if something goes wrong? What if he suffers more? Sarah reassured her, outlining the safety measures and medical support they were arranging. We will be there every step of the way, making sure his comfort comes first. Gradually, Emily's skepticism softened. She began sharing stories of their summers at the beach, memories she thought her father had forgotten. Those moments rekindled her own hope. Sarah realized the family's involvement was crucial, not just for approvals, but for healing old wounds and strengthening bonds. She invited Emily to participate actively in the planning, making her a partner in this mission. Over the following days, Emily visited more often, bringing photos and mementos from their past. The hospital room became a place of stories and shared dreams, bridging generations. Through patience and understanding, Sarah helped the family move from uncertainty to commitment, ensuring that fulfilling Mr. Jenkins' last wish would be a collective act of love. With the family support growing stronger, Sarah braced herself to face the hospital's complex bureaucracy, an intricate web of policies, paperwork, and approvals that often felt impersonal and unyielding. The dream of bringing Mr. Jenkins to the ocean depended now on navigating this daunting system. She began by submitting formal requests for medical transport and temporary discharge permissions, meticulously filling out forms that required signatures from multiple departments. Each application seemed to demand more justification, more documentation. The ethics committee was the next hurdle. Their meetings were scheduled weeks in advance, and their decisions were careful and conservative. Sarah prepared detailed presentations outlining the patient's condition, the emotional necessity of the trip, and the extensive safety precautions planned. At the first hearing, members raised concerns about liability, potential medical emergencies outside the hospital, and the strain on resources. Sarah responded calmly, offering contingency plans and emergency response measures. Despite her thorough preparation, the committee remained hesitant. The rules were clear. Transporting a terminally ill patient for non-medical reasons was unusual and fraught with risk. Undeterred, Sarah enlisted the help of Dr. Patel, a compassionate physician known for advocating patient-centered care. With his support, she refined the proposal, emphasizing the profound psychological benefits and the dignity it would restore to Mr. Jenkins. Slowly, the tide began to turn. The committee agreed to reconsider, provided the hospital's legal team reviewed the risks and the family signed detailed consent forms. Each step was a painstaking victory. Sarah felt the weight of bureaucracy, but remained steadfast, knowing that breaking through these walls would bring a precious gift to a man who deserved it. By the end of the week, the initial approvals came through. The wheels were turning, and the possibility of fulfilling the last wish was inching closer to reality. Despite the hospital's cautious approvals, Sarah knew the path ahead would still be steep. Each day brought new challenges. Unforeseen medical complications with Mr. Jenkins, last-minute scheduling conflicts, and the constant need to reassure worried staff and family. But Sarah's determination never wavered. She took it upon herself to become more than just a nurse. She became an advocate, a strategist, and sometimes a mediator. She spent long hours coordinating with transport teams, respiratory therapists, and legal advisors, ensuring every detail was covered. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Sarah sat beside Mr. Jenkins' bed. His breathing was labored, but his eyes held a quiet strength. "Are you ready for this?" she asked softly. He nodded faintly. More than ever. That moment steeled Sarah's resolve. She would move mountains if needed to grant him this final gift. Her colleagues began to notice the fire in her. Some offered extra help. Others shared ideas for managing risks. Even hospital administrators who had been skeptical started to respect her tenacity. Outside the hospital, Sarah reached out to community volunteers experienced in transporting patients safely. She secured specialized equipment, a mobile oxygen unit, emergency medications, and a portable monitoring system. Everything necessary to replicate hospital care on the move. Every obstacle was met with creative solutions. When a crucial medical technician fell ill days before the planned trip, Sarah quickly arranged for a trained substitute, ensuring no gap in care. The nurse's unwavering dedication transformed doubt into belief. She became the engine driving this mission forward, fueled by compassion and an unshakable commitment to her patient. As the day of the journey approached, Sarah prepared not just medical supplies, but also herself, ready to face whatever came next with courage and heart. Sarah realized that fulfilling Mr. Jenkins' last wish couldn't be done alone. The stakes were high, and the effort would require a team united by compassion and determination. She began reaching out to colleagues, friends, and even community groups who might lend a hand. She first spoke with the hospital's volunteer coordinator, explaining the mission and the importance of a seamless, safe trip. Volunteers with experience in patient transport and end-of-life care responded enthusiastically, eager to help bring hope where it was most needed. Next, Sarah connected with local hospice organizations. Their knowledge of managing delicate situations outside the hospital walls proved invaluable. They offered resources and guidance, ensuring that Mr. Jenkins would receive top-notch care, even beyond the hospital setting. Sarah's colleagues rallied around her, some adjusting shifts to provide extra support, others offering specialized expertise. The physical therapist volunteered to assess mobility challenges. The respiratory therapist helped fine-tune oxygen equipment. Even hospital administrators, once cautious, began to see the mission's value. They provided logistical support, facilitating permits and transportation approvals. Community members heard about the story through hospital newsletters and quietly donated funds for specialized medical transport. One local boat owner offered his vessel to take Mr. Jenkins out on the water safely. The momentum built steadily, fueled by shared commitment and a collective belief in the power of dignity. Sarah marveled at how a simple wish had united so many hearts and hands. It wasn't just about fulfilling a patient's dream anymore. It had become a symbol of hope and humanity. With every new ally, the mission grew stronger, transforming from a solitary nurse's determination into a community's embrace. As preparations surged forward, Sarah encountered the harsh reality that even the best-laid plans could be derailed in an instant. Just days before the scheduled trip, Mr. Jenkins suffered a sudden decline. His breathing grew shallow, and his vital signs fluctuated unpredictably. The hospital buzzed with urgency. Doctors adjusted medications, nurses monitored every movement, and Sarah stayed by his side, her heart heavy yet steadfast. The fragile hope they had nurtured now seemed precariously balanced on a knife's edge. In the midst of medical chaos, Sarah's mind raced. Could they still make the journey? Would the risks outweigh the rewards? She consulted with physicians, weighing the possibility of postponement against the patient's emotional needs. Meanwhile, hospital policies required reassessment. Was transporting a patient in such a condition ethically sound? The ethics committee convened urgently, and Sarah presented a heartfelt appeal emphasizing the patient's unwavering desire. Family members wrestled with fear and hope. Emily's tears flowed freely as she whispered, "I just want Dad to have peace." Sarah felt the emotional toll, but she refused to surrender. Instead, she intensified her advocacy, coordinating around-the-clock care and reevaluating medical protocols to ensure maximum safety. Days passed in tense uncertainty. Slowly, Mr. Jenkins stabilized, still weak, but steady enough to consider the journey. It was a reminder that even amid setbacks, hope could endure. Sarah's resolve deepened. The path was far from smooth, but every hurdle only sharpened her commitment to fulfill a promise made not just to a patient, but to humanity's capacity for kindness. Even as the preparations edged closer to fruition, Sarah sensed an unspoken tension lingering beneath Mr. Jenkins' calm exterior. One evening, as she adjusted his pillows and checked his fore, she gently broached the subject that had been weighing on her heart. "Mr. Jenkins," she began softly, "how are you feeling about the trip? Are there worries you want to talk about?" He sighed, his gaze settling on the ceiling. "I am scared, Sarah. Not just about the journey, but about what comes after." Sarah nodded, understanding that the fear of the unknown was often the heaviest burden to carry. "What's troubling you the most?" He paused, then said, "I fear leaving my family behind, the silence after I'm gone. I worry they'll remember me only in pain, not in the moments I held dear." Sarah squeezed his hand gently. "You're leaving behind more than memories of illness. You've shared stories, laughter, love. This trip, this wish, is part of your legacy. It's the peace you want for yourself and your family." Tears welled in his eyes. "I want to believe that." In the days that followed, Sarah made it her mission to ease his fears. She arranged for Emily and other family members to visit more often, encouraging them to share stories and create new memories. She also connected Mr. Jenkins with a counselor skilled in end-of-life care, someone who could help him navigate his emotions and find comfort. Through heartfelt conversations and gentle reassurances, Sarah watched the shadows in his eyes begin to lift, replaced by a quiet courage. The patient's fears were not erased, but they were met with compassion, a vital step toward the peace he sought. The morning light filtered softly through the curtains as Sarah entered Mr. Jenkins' room with a hopeful smile. After weeks of navigating obstacles, fears, and uncertainties, today felt different. A breakthrough was near. The medical team had carefully reassessed his condition overnight. Vital signs were stable, and tests showed a remarkable improvement. The doctors were cautiously optimistic, giving the green light to proceed with detailed planning for the journey. Sarah relayed the good news to Mr. Jenkins, whose eyes glistened with renewed hope. "I'm ready, Sarah," he whispered, more ready than ever. Inspired by this turning point, Sarah redoubled her efforts. She coordinated with the transport team, ensuring the specialized ambulance and medical equipment would be ready. The logistics of transferring a fragile patient from hospital bed to boat demanded precision. She also worked closely with Emily and other family members, sharing updates and involving them in preparations. Together, they selected photographs and mementos to bring along, tangible pieces of a life well lived. That afternoon, Sarah gathered the hospital staff involved for a final briefing. Everyone understood the gravity of the moment. This was more than a medical transfer. It was a mission of humanity. Her dedication was met with quiet admiration. The team committed fully, each person recognizing their role in bringing a dying man's dream to life. As evening fell, Sarah sat beside Mr. Jenkins once more, his hand warm in hers. The breakthrough gave them both a fragile but precious gift, the possibility of hope made real. The journey was no longer just an idea. It was becoming reality. Behind Sarah's determined exterior lay a quiet battle she rarely spoke of. Balancing the intense, emotional demands of her work with her own life was a daily challenge she had come to accept, but this mission was testing her limits like never before. Late nights at the hospital meant missed family dinners and postponed plans. Her mind constantly replayed Mr. Jenkins' stories and fears, leaving little room for rest. The weight of responsibility felt immense, sometimes overwhelming. She confided in a close colleague one evening during a brief break. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm strong enough for this," she admitted softly. "It's not just about the medicine. It's about carrying someone's last hope on your shoulders." Her colleague nodded empathetically. "You're not alone. What you're doing means everything." Sarah drew strength from these moments of connection, but the emotional toll remained. She worried about burning out, about the impact on her own well-being. Yet, she knew that stepping back wasn't an option. This patient's dignity depended on her unwavering presence. She learned to navigate the balance, finding small pockets of peace in quiet breaths, brief walks, and moments of gratitude. The mission to fulfill Mr. Jenkins' last wish became more than professional duty. It was a personal journey of resilience, compassion, and growth. Each challenge faced and emotion embraced deepened her understanding of what it truly meant to care for another human being at life's most fragile edge. Recognizing the immense challenge ahead, Sarah reached beyond the hospital walls for support. She contacted local community organizations experienced in assisting patients with complex medical needs outside traditional settings. A nonprofit specializing in patient transport responded quickly. Their team had expertise in safely moving fragile patients for special outings. They offered state-of-the-art equipment and compassionate personnel willing to accompany Mr. Jenkins. Sarah also connected with a hospice group known for its emotional and spiritual care. Their counselors offered to support Mr. Jenkins and his family throughout the journey, helping ease fears and provide comfort. Among the most touching offers came from a retired boat captain, John, who had heard about the mission through word of mouth. He volunteered his vessel, a small, sturdy boat perfect for a gentle sail along the coast. His calm demeanor and decades of experience assured Sarah that Mr. Jenkins would be in safe hands. With each outside contribution, the mission grew stronger. The hospital became just one part of a larger network united by compassion. Sarah marveled at the kindness and generosity unfolding around them. It was proof that sometimes fulfilling a last wish was a collective act of humanity. Together, they were building a bridge from hospital bed to open sea, a passage filled with hope, care, and dignity. The day of the journey loomed near, and the hospital buzzed with a mixture of anticipation and quiet urgency. Sarah meticulously reviewed every detail, knowing that even the smallest oversight could jeopardize the mission to fulfill Mr. Jenkins' last wish. Each moment now carried weight far beyond routine care. The specialized ambulance had been fitted with advanced monitoring equipment, oxygen supplies, and emergency medications. Trained medical personnel were assigned for the transport, all briefed on Mr. Jenkins' condition and the critical nature of the trip. The hospice team stood ready to provide emotional support throughout the day. Sarah coordinated with John, the retired boat captain, who had inspected his vessel thoroughly. The boat was equipped with comfortable seating, safety harnesses, and all necessary medical accommodations. John's calm confidence reassured Sarah. This was no ordinary outing, but one filled with deep meaning. Emily and the family had gathered to help prepare mementos, photographs, letters, and small keepsakes that Mr. Jenkins wished to carry with him. The hospital room, once filled with sterile medical devices, now held reminders of a life lived fully and loved deeply. Sarah packed her own bag with essentials, medical supplies, emergency kits, and personal items to ensure everything would be at hand. She checked and rechecked the plan, leaving nothing to chance. Despite the careful arrangements, Sarah felt a surge of nerves. The day was more than a medical transfer. It was the culmination of weeks of hope, struggle, and unwavering commitment. The patient's dignity, comfort, and spirit rested on their collective shoulders. That evening, as Mr. Jenkins rested, Sarah sat beside him, holding his hand gently. "Tomorrow," she whispered, "we'll make your wish come true. You're ready." His eyes opened slowly, a soft smile touching his lips. "Thank you, Sarah, for believing." In that moment, the sterile hospital walls faded away. All that mattered was the promise of the sea, the horizon waiting to embrace a man longing for peace. The final preparations were complete. The journey to the ocean was ready to begin. The dawn broke softly over the hospital, casting gentle light through the curtains as the day Mr. Jenkins had long dreamed of finally arrived. The quiet hum of morning activity filled the halls, but in room 204, a solemn anticipation took hold. Sarah arrived early, her bag packed and heart steady. though nerves fluttered beneath the surface. Today was more than a routine shift. It was the culmination of weeks of effort, hope, and steadfast resolve. Mr. Jenkins lay resting, fragile yet alert, his pale hand reaching for Sarah's as she entered. "Today," he whispered, voice steady despite weakness, "I get to see the ocean again." A team of medical staff gathered, checking monitors, oxygen tanks, and emergency equipment one last time. The specialized ambulance waited outside, its doors open to welcome a patient with a wish bigger than any medical chart. Family members arrived, their faces a mixture of hope and worry. Emily embraced her father gently, whispering words of encouragement. John, the retired boat captain, was already at the marina, readying his vessel with quiet care. His experience would ensure a smooth, safe journey on the water. As the team prepared to transfer Mr. Jenkins from hospital bed to ambulance stretcher, Sarah felt a swell of emotion. This was a moment filled with meaning, both fragile and profound. The transfer was smooth, thanks to the careful planning and skilled hands of the medical team. Each movement was measured, every precaution taken to ensure comfort and safety. The drive to the marina was quiet but filled with an undercurrent of hope. Sarah kept a steady vigil beside Mr. Jenkins, who gazed out the window as the city gave way to open skies. At last, the boat awaited, a small vessel rocking gently in the water, the horizon stretching endlessly beyond. As the boat slipped away from the dock, a soft breeze carried the scent of salt and freedom. Mr. Jenkins closed his eyes, a peaceful smile breaking across his face. Sarah stood nearby, heart full. The patient's last wish was no longer a distant dream. It was a beautiful, living reality. The boat cut gently through the calm waters, the rhythmic sound of waves soothing the passengers on board. Mr. Jenkins sat comfortably, wrapped in a warm blanket, his gaze fixed on the endless horizon where sky met sea. The salt air filled his lungs, each breath a reminder of a childhood long past but never forgotten. Sarah sat close, monitoring his vital signs, but allowing space for the peace that had finally settled over him. The sun warmed his face, and for the first time in months, a genuine smile spread across his lips. The ocean, vast and eternal, seemed to cradle him in its timeless embrace. Emily stood at the bow, tears glistening in her eyes, witnessing her father's joy, a moment she feared might never come. The family shared quiet stories and memories, laughter mingling with the gentle lapping of the water against the boat's hull. John, the seasoned captain, navigated with steady hands, ensuring the journey was as smooth as possible. His presence was reassuring, a symbol of the care and compassion that had carried this mission from dream to reality. As the boat drifted further from shore, Mr. Jenkins reached out, trailing his fingers through the cool water. He closed his eyes and whispered a heartfelt thanks to Sarah, to his family, and to the universe that had granted him this final gift. Time seemed to slow, the moments stretching into eternity. The hospital, the struggles, the fears, all faded into insignificance against the boundless sea. Sarah felt tears prick her own eyes. She had witnessed a profound transformation, a man's last wish fulfilled not just through medical expertise, but through human kindness and determination. The boat ride became a celebration of life, a testament to dignity and hope. And as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Mr. Jenkins rested peacefully, his soul at ease. The boat's gentle rocking faded into a serene stillness as dusk settled over the water. Sarah sat quietly beside Mr. Jenkins, watching the last golden rays of sunlight flicker across his peaceful face. The fulfillment of his wish had brought a calmness that no medication could provide. As the journey back to shore began, Sarah's mind wandered, reflecting on the profound impact of the experience. This was more than a patient's wish granted. It was a reminder of the power of compassion, resilience, and human connection. She thought about the countless hours of preparation, the hurdles overcome, and the unwavering support from colleagues, family, and community. It was a collective triumph born from hope and determination. Mr. Jenkins opened his eyes slowly, catching Sarah's gaze. "Thank you," he whispered, voice filled with quiet gratitude. "For everything." Sarah smiled softly. "It was an honor to be part of this with you." Back on solid ground, the hospital awaited, a place often filled with pain and uncertainty, but today marked by a rare victory. The story of the journey spread quietly among staff, inspiring renewed commitment to patient-centered care. Sarah felt a shift within herself as well. The experience had deepened her understanding of what nursing truly meant, not just treating illness, but honoring the whole person. In the days that followed, she shared the story with new colleagues, reminding them of the difference one nurse could make. Mr. Jenkins' journey became a beacon of hope, a testament to the dignity every patient deserved. As she resumed her daily rounds, Sarah carried with her a renewed sense of purpose. The ocean's vastness had not only fulfilled a wish, it had transformed a nurse's heart and strengthened a community's compassion. This reflection was a quiet celebration, an acknowledgement that sometimes the smallest acts ripple outward in the most profound ways. In the days following the ocean journey, a subtle but meaningful change blossomed within Mr. Jenkins' family. The experience had softened long-held tensions and brought hearts closer together. Emily found herself opening up more, sharing her own fears and regrets. Conversations that once skirted around difficult topics now flowed freely, filled with honesty and vulnerability. During a quiet afternoon visit, Mr. Jenkins reached out to his daughter, taking her hand gently. "There's so much I wish I'd said," he murmured, "but I'm grateful we have this time." Emily nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "Me too, Dad. This journey, it's given us a chance to heal." Sarah observed their interactions with quiet satisfaction. She had witnessed not just a patient's wish fulfilled, but the mending of bonds frayed by years of unspoken pain. The family gathered more frequently, sharing stories, laughter, and memories. Old grievances faded as they focused on the precious time remaining, embracing the gift of presence. Emily expressed gratitude towards Sarah, recognizing the nurse's role in facilitating this transformation. "You gave us more than a trip to the ocean," she said softly. "You gave us back each other." For Mr. Jenkins, the reconciliation brought peace that radiated from within, easing fears of what lay ahead. This healing was a testament to the power of compassion, not only in medical care, but in nurturing relationships that define us. Sarah realized that fulfilling a patient's last wish could ripple far beyond the individual, touching families and communities in profound ways. As the days grew shorter, the family's renewed closeness stood as a beacon of hope amid life's inevitable challenges, a reminder that love can endure, even in the face of farewell. The hospital room, once filled with the steady beeping of machines and hushed footsteps, now carried a profound stillness. Mr. Jenkins lay peacefully, surrounded by the love of his family and the care of Sarah, who had become more than just his nurse. She was a steadfast presence through every moment. His breathing was gentle, and a serene expression settled over his face. The journey to the ocean had brought a transformation, a quiet peace that radiated from within. The fears and worries that had once clouded his spirit had given way to acceptance. Emily held his hand, her own tears mingling with soft smiles. She whispered stories of the day on the water, of the sunlight on his face, and the sound of the waves. These memories became a balm for both, weaving comfort into the fragile present. Sarah monitored his vital signs, mindful yet respectful of the dignity that now filled the space. She knew this moment was the culmination of a shared mission, one that honored life even in its final chapter. As twilight deepened outside, Mr. Jenkins' eyes fluttered open briefly, meeting Sarah's gaze. "Thank you," he murmured, voice weak but sincere, "for bringing me home." Sarah smiled through tears. It was an honor. In those final hours, surrounded by family and gentle care, Mr. Jenkins slipped away peacefully, his soul soothed by the ocean's embrace he had longed for. The room was silent, but filled with a powerful sense of closure, an ending marked not by fear, but by love and fulfillment. Sarah stood quietly, carrying the memory of a life's last wish fulfilled, a testament to the strength of hope and compassion in the face of mortality. In the days following Mr. Jenkins' peaceful passing, Sarah found herself reflecting deeply on the journey they had shared. What had begun as a professional duty had blossomed into an experience that transformed her understanding of nursing and humanity. She realized that medicine was only one part of care. The true essence lay in honoring the whole person, their stories, fears, hopes, and dreams. Fulfilling a last wish wasn't just about logistics. It was about preserving dignity in the face of mortality. Sarah's commitment had challenged hospital norms and inspired colleagues to rethink patient-centered care. Conversations began to shift, focusing more on emotional needs alongside clinical treatment. She also discovered inner reserves of strength and resilience she hadn't known she possessed. The challenges had tested her physically and emotionally, but the rewards, witnessing peace and hope, were immeasurable. Her relationship with patients deepened, marked by greater empathy and attentiveness. She became an advocate not only for those in her care, but for systemic changes that honored patient wishes. Sarah shared her story at hospital meetings, inspiring others to listen more closely to their patients. Her experience became a beacon for compassionate care, emphasizing that every individual's humanity mattered. Though grief lingered, Sarah felt gratitude for having been part of something profoundly meaningful. She carried Mr. Jenkins' story as a reminder that nursing was not just a job, it was a sacred trust. Her growth was ongoing, fueled by lessons learned through love, loss, and the courage to fulfill a final wish. Sarah emerged stronger, wiser, and more dedicated than ever. The journey had changed her, and through her, it would touch countless others. Months after Mr. Jenkins' passing, Sarah found herself standing before a room of new nurses, sharing the story that had forever changed her approach to care. The tale of fulfilling a patient's last wish had become more than a personal journey. It was now a legacy of compassion and dignity.